My name's Carolyn Jackson, and a key area of my research expertise is gender and education. Within that, a long-standing interest of mine is single-sex versus co-educational schooling, and I've spoken in another video about the debates around co-ed and single-sex schooling. But here I'm going to talk about an aspect of that, which is single-sex classes within co-educational schools. If single-sex schooling and co-educational schooling are seen to be located at opposite sides of a continuum, then single-sex classes within co-ed schools is probably seen to occupy the space in between. Schemes whereby single-sex classes have been introduced into co-educational schools have been employed in a number of different countries, including in England, but also Australia, New Zealand, Sweden and the United States. In most cases, single-sex schools are introduced for particular groups of children, i.e. a particular year or age group, or in specific subject areas. The purpose of the scheme varies. Now, in some cases, particularly in the last 2 to 3 decades of the 20th century, the schemes are often to try to promote girls' confidence in so-called masculine subject areas like maths or science, with the hope that it would encourage them to continue with these subjects beyond compulsory level. More recently, however, the focus has shifted much more towards implementing single-sex classes to try to benefit boys. And this shift has coincided with a growing concern about, or growing fears in numerous countries, about so-called underachieving boys. These fears have been underpinned by examination results that show overall girls are outperforming boys in most school examinations, and these concerns have been, again, in numerous countries, including England, Australia and the USA and others. So in recent years, the purposes of single-sex classes in co-ed schools have often been about trying to boost the performances of boys, and particularly in subjects such as English. Now, there's no straightforward answer to the question about whether single-sex classes in mixed-sex schools are successful. Whether a scheme is deemed successful or not really depends on what the school aimed to achieve by it in the first place. Researchers have measured the effectiveness of single-sex classes according to a number of different criteria, including academic attainment, self-concept levels, continuation of the subject beyond compulsory level, attitudes towards the subject, and other factors as well. And taken as a whole, the findings are inconclusive. And the main reasons for this are that most studies are short-lived, and in many cases the schools aren't actually clear about the precise purpose of the scheme. Also, schools that are attempting to raise boys' attainment levels frequently implement a number of different strategies simultaneously. So it's impossible to disentangle the effects of one scheme or another. In general, the ways in which the schemes are implemented and executed are important determinants of their success. And factors such as how committed all the staff in the school are to the scheme and also the parents are really important. Researchers, including me, have pointed out the dangers of some of these schemes, and these are really important to bear in mind. For example, there's been sustained criticism of programmes that treat boys and girls as homogeneous groups, i.e. they assume that all girls and boys are the same and that all girls like the same kinds of things and all boys like the same kinds of things. And because of these assumptions, they've tailored the curriculum in gender-specific ways. For example, assuming that boys will like to read war poetry and girls will like to read about romance. And these tend to reinforce gender stereotypes. Similarly, male teachers that encourage male bonding in all boys groups by fostering sexist, macho or laddish attitudes and behaviours have been criticised strongly by pro-feminist and feminist researchers. So overall, the arguments are multifaceted and they're not straightforward. And whether single-sex classes within co-educational schools are seen to be successful or advantageous really depends what the school wants to get from them.